Hi, I'm Kathy Berry, registered dietitian with Time to Be Well. On today's program, we'll be featuring clean eating, eating healthy whole foods, and getting more fruits and vegetables into your diet this summer. We'll be preparing a beautiful dish called a Buddha bowl. It is a beautiful Buddha bowl, if you prefer, so stay right there. Today we are going to focus on clean eating, and we will be preparing something that's called a Buddha bowl. And Buddha bowls traditionally are a grain and a vegetable and a bean and a sauce. And we're going to take a little twist on that and add some chicken and some other wonderful things to make it super clean, super nutritious. So let's get started, and we'll talk about clean eating as we work through this. So what we have here is a pot of vegetable broth. Pretty simple, it's just vegetable broth. You can make your own or you can purchase it. And to that we're going to add about 1.5 cups of quinoa. I've rinsed this because I've been told that sometimes there is a bitter flavor if you don't rinse it. And quinoa is actually not a grain, although it is a really good source of carbohydrate. It is a seed, and it comes from a little plant that is similar to spinach. It's from Bolivia. And folks used to think back in the day that it was what made the Bolivian army strong, was this high protein, high fiber seed grain. So now we have incorporated it into our United States diet, and it is really, really good for you. So this summer, to get away from some other kinds of grains, I think having quinoa in your diet is wonderful. It's very, very flavor interesting, and it goes very well with savory or sweet food. So don't be afraid of the quinoa. So we're going to start that up, and we'll move on to the chicken part of our Buddha bowl, which we're going to begin with some ginger, and I love ginger, and a nice amount of garlic as well. So we'll get that going. And once it gets a little bit toasty, kind of translucent, we'll add our chicken to that. Now, let's talk about clean eating. Clean eating is primarily trying to have foods that are closer to their natural state rather than refined foods, and then having that as the basis of your diet. Not just one healthy meal a week or one healthy meal from time to time with wholesome foods, but trying to have that as the basis of your diet. And oftentimes when we talk about changing your diet or going on a diet, some of those things just seem a little bit overwhelming, but when you just try to get more wholesome foods into your diet and incorporate that as the main part of your diet, it's easier to get some of the refined and high salt and high sugar foods out of your diet, because you have such an abundance of really healthful, good, wholesome foods to fill it up. And that's what we want to do. We want to fill you up so that you stay nice and full, because that is the basis of weight management right there, and being healthy is staying full, being satisfied, not being hungry all the time. So this whole idea of clean eating and wholesome whole foods is a perfect recipe for that. So now what we're going to do to this ginger and garlic is we're just going to add some of this we've got some nice smart chicken here that is just chicken breast tenderloins. We're going to add those in there. We've got a little olive oil in there, and it smells wonderful. And we're going to season them up with some salt and pepper. Just a little, not a lot. And we're going to cook those, all the way through while this quinoa is cooking as well. So let's get that moving along, and then we'll move on to our vegetable portion. Okay, now a Buddha bowl is something that you serve in a bowl, and you can do lots of different things with it. That's why we call it a Beautiful Buddha bowl, because there's all kinds of things you can do with it. This is just my take on it. You can use any grain. You can use any vegetable. You can use, we're going to make an awesome sauce, and that's what we're just going to call it. We're going to call it our awesome sauce because it is awesome. So this is a really nice meal to keep you well fueled for all you active folks that like to play tennis and swim and bike in the summertime and hike and all of those kinds of things that are so good for you. This is great fuel for that. This is awesome fuel because it has the 3 big macronutrients, which you need at every meal. The 3 big macronutrients are the carbohydrate, which we've got in the quinoa, the fat, which we're going to add from our healthy avocado, and then the protein, which we have in our chicken. So you want all of those 3 macronutrients at every meal. So whenever you hear about diets that are no carbohydrate or super low carbohydrate, if you're an active person, you need energy. Every cell needs fuel, and the first place that it's going to reach for fuel is from the carbohydrate source. If you don't have enough carbohydrate to fuel yourself, your body will use protein for that fuel. So don't be afraid to have carbohydrate in your diet. You just want to have smart carbohydrate in your diet, which is quinoa and these sweet potatoes here that we're going to doll up with. We've got some red onion, and we're just going to put some olive oil on there. We're going to give them a little flip. We chopped up 1 sweet potato, 1 nice big red onion. We're going to put some olive oil on it, toss it out on this cooking tray. Season it up a little. And we're going to throw it in the oven for about 15 minutes until it gets nice and done. So here we go. Oh boy. Okay, I'm just going to move this over here. And now we're going to flip our chicken. Okay, so now let's talk about what exactly is clean eating. When we talk about whole foods, here is a really good example of a whole food. This is a whole food. These are clean, they are in their natural state, they haven't been processed, they don't have anything added to them. This would be an example of something that might not be a whole food. Now, granted, this only has 3 ingredients. It has corn, it has some kind of oil, safflower, sunflower, canola, and it has salt. That's not terrible. It's only 3 ingredients, and we know what those ingredients are. However, it's not as clean, it's not as wholesome, it's not as fresh from the earth as this guy. So that's the difference between clean, maybe not so clean. It's not to say you can never have a tortilla chip, but this is where the good stuff is. Another example that kind of gets us in a little trouble is these kinds of prepared foods. Now, this might look pretty good. It actually is pretty good. It's got a lot of wholesome ingredients in there. It's got lentils, it's got vegetables, but it also has over 600 milligrams of sodium per serving. So that's the part of clean eating that we really, really like. It gets out some of the refined foods, gets out some of the salt, gets out some of the sugar, and it sticks to things that are really wholesome and healthful. And even though you add a little bit of salt when you cook food to season it, it's not nearly as much as commercially prepared food. So that's the difference. And you just have to basically get back in the kitchen and do a little bit more cooking. But personally, I think that's where all the good stuff is. So let's move on with our chicken here. Okay, our chicken's coming along. Our quinoa's coming along. We've got all that nice ginger in there and garlic in there to make it nice and flavorful. So we're just going to let that go, get it nice and done, and wait for our sweet potatoes and our onions to get nice and toasty. And we'll be making the sauce that goes on it. So here we go with the awesome sauce. I'm just going to move these things over, and we'll start to get our sauce going. All right, so one of the great things about a Buddha bowl is that it is very versatile. So I like them because you can use what you have left over. So if you're grilling on the weekend, grill more chicken. If you're at the farmer's market. You know, pick up all those wonderful local tomatoes and fresh herbs and all of those things, because you can incorporate them in so many recipes and just throw them in and add what you like with your flavor profile, which is basically what we're doing here. We started with this is the awesome sauce, and let me tell you, it is awesome. We started with 2 tablespoons or a little bit more of natural peanut butter. And to that, we're going to add, we've got the juice of a whole lime. So we're going to add that in there. And we'll just kind of start to whisk it, start to stir it around. We've got some soy sauce, and I use this kind. I really like this. This is Bragg's Liquid Aminos. All it is soybeans. It's cultured soybeans and water. That's it. It's nothing else. So we're going to add some of that. Gives it really nice flavor. And then we've got some sesame oil. I love sesame oil. We're also going to dress this up with some sesame seeds at the end, so it's really nice. We've got that. And because I like it a little sassy, we're going to add some red pepper flakes. Don't be scared. It's summertime. We can have a little heat. And then I like to add just a smidge of honey. Just a smidge of local honey that comes up from the Camden Passage way. Add that just to kind of soften all those flavors together. Sometimes you need a little honey or you need a little maple syrup, I think, in foods. Just a touch, especially like if you're making your own dressings and your own sauces. It doesn't really sweeten it, it just softens it. Kind of helps the flavors all get along. And all you need is like a teaspoon. All right, so let's give this a whisk. Sometimes when I make dressing, I throw them in a jar and just shake it. But with that peanut butter in there, you really do need a whisk. And as you can see, granted, we are cooking and we are in the kitchen. But you can get this meal together in probably a half an hour, maybe a little bit longer. But it's very simple. And it's a great summertime meal. Great for your active lifestyle. Great fuel. And super good for you. Those sweet potatoes will kind of give it a little sweetness, and sweet potatoes are super high in fiber, super high in vitamin A, really, really good for you. And then the red onions will give it a little kick. We're going to put it all on a nice serving of greens and build it up, and it's going to be fantastic. So stay right there. Okay, we're back. Our sweet potatoes are done. Our quinoa's done. Our chicken's done. And we are going to build up these beautiful Buddha bowls, and they're going to be awesome. Spectacular. So, sit right there. Here comes the sweet potatoes and the red onions. So there they are. And here we go. This is how we're going to build this. We've got some nice spinach here. We're going to put this in the bottom of the bowl. And the reason we're going to put it in the bottom of the bowl is because we're going to put all that hot food on it, You can have this room temperature or hot or cold, but I like putting the hot things on there because it kind of wilts the spinach, and then you've got some hot things and some cold things and some sort of medium temperature things, and it just makes the dish really interesting. So on top of that, we'll add our quinoa. We're gonna just add a nice portion of that right on top of the spinach. Kind of toss it around a little bit. This is we think it's a grain, but it's really a seed, really high in B vitamins, really high in fiber. It has the most protein of any of the so-called grains, so that's really good for us. And then we're gonna put some chicken on top of that. Now, if you wanted to dice this, you certainly could, but I kind of like these nice medallions here. Doesn't that look good? How about that? Then on goes the beautiful sweet potatoes and the red onions because they're sassy, and we like sassy food. Look at that. Okay, now here comes the cilantro, which kind of gives it that nice sort of, I don't know, kind of Thai sort of flavor with the peanut. We're gonna add some avocado on top. That's our healthy fat, because why not? You need healthy fat every day to help you absorb all your fat-soluble vitamins. Every diet needs to have some fat in it. Every diet needs to have some protein in it. Ooh, let's add this lime. Get that a little bit more bright. I just so happen to have a little bit of ginger left too, so we'll throw that in there. So fat, gotta have fat to absorb your vitamins. Protein, gotta have protein to build cells and heal your body and build new cells. Gotta have carbohydrate for energy. Every one of those things is really, really important. They're called the macronutrients, and you need each and every one for a healthy diet and to maintain your energy and your health. So on top of that, we're gonna add this beautiful awesome sauce, and let me tell you, it is awesome. And when you make this for your family or your friends, they're gonna say, you are awesome, and you are. You can find all of these recipes and many more on kcmo.gov and just search for Time to Be Well. I'm Kathy Berry with the Fountain of Health, and I just want to thank you for joining us and taking care of yourself through better health and better nutrition.